Okay, we're live. Woo! So welcome to another Run Wild with us. Ask us whatever you want. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and RIZE. I am here with Ben White, who is one of our acquisition editors, as well as one of our key editors. And who knows, man, we could have a slew of people join us. You never know. Anyway, so this is your chance to sit down with us and ask us whatever you want. Typically, folks will ask us questions around the business of publishing, around the business of storytelling, around editing, things like that. You're honestly, like I said, last week, someone asked us, "Are you ticklish?" Hey, it's a question. Go for it. We actually, any kind of questions that you have, all you need to do is go ahead and pop those questions into the chat and into the comment section, because what I then do is I'll repeat the question, and then Ben and I will take that opportunity to respond to it. If no questions come through, believe me, we are great at making up crap. So we will just go ahead and just randomly talk about stuff that's coming down the pike, and hopefully you'll minimally find it entertaining. And if not entertaining, then hey, put us in the background until we say something smart. And
if we're not saying what you want to hear, ask us a question you want the answer to.
Well, you don't really, whatever kind of answer you want, I'm sure we can come up with something that sounds slightly intelligent. We also are here with Amy Hardy, who is another one of our amazing editors, as well as Kelly Powers, who's again another one of our fantastic editors. So if you're watching, like I said, just go ahead, toss your questions into the comments. I will repeat the question, and then we'll all take turns in responding to it. This is actually a live stream, so it is recorded. And what that means for you is you can go ahead and watch this whenever you want, when you're, making dinner, when you're checking your email, when your significant other is bothering the hell out of you and you like, I just need to get away from you. I'm going to go watch this live stream. It is all good, because what you can do is then go ahead, put your questions into the comments section, because we check them throughout the week. And I'll make sure that we answer your questions in the subsequent week. Awesome. So a few things that I wanted to talk about. Awesome. Up front, Ben and I are both right now in the throes of editing anthologies. So I'm editing 2 novella anthologies. I'm just now starting the second round of edits. I really think you guys are going to love these novellas. They are so, so fun. We've got everything from science fiction to like dark fantasy to more like alternative structures to multiple lives. I mean, really, really cool stuff. And Ben is working on the short story anthologies for both RIZE and for Running Wild. For RIZE, it will be its first ever short story anthology, which I'm so excited about. It is going to be so much fun. And Kelly Powers and Amy are also working on a couple of pieces. I don't know if you guys feel comfortable talking about them, like what the stories are about. I don't know, Amy, if you would want to talk first.
Sure. Yeah, mine that I'm working on is with an author named Mark Lopez, and we're just finishing up kind of his last few edits. His is a story about a young girl who loses her parents, and she goes to live with her uncle. But her uncle is he's an addict, and he lives in a seedy part of town. So it's a big transition for her being so young. But it's a really important story. A lot of people have, similar kind of stories where maybe they're not raised in the best environment, but it's all about perseverance and really staying true to that voice. So yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with him on this, and I can't wait to get it out to readers.
Awesome. And Kelly, how about you? What's the novel you're working on?
I'm working on a adult science fiction with my author. We're on the first round of edits, so we're just kind of still brand new to all this, but having a lot of fun with it. This is a really interesting story. It takes place in an alien world. Earth is on its way out. Environmental is the environment's kind of going downhill, and the main character, she used to be an environmentalist activist, but then she decided, forget it, jump ship and gone to this new planet, only to find out there's other issues there too. And so she's kind of learning her lesson and about standing up for her beliefs and standing up for the planet and fighting to survive in this new world, and who to trust, who not to trust. It's all really, really good.
That's fantastic. I can't wait. I can't wait for them to come out. Ben, in the short story anthology that you're working on, are there any stories that really pop out for you?
Still a little too early to really say.
Okay.
But they're just in the first go through. There's some interesting work, and it's very diverse, like we like. So they found the right place. It's a matter of me getting in and really going through them, because I've been working primarily on a couple of novels. I started the second novel today, but just finished my first time through editing another novel for Tim Shoemaker, who is a military writer, and so we're going to rearrange that a little bit and come up with some creative ways to say what he says. And then the second one is Rodolfo Serna's Dystopian Waste, and it's kind of a futuristic novel, that a science fiction novel, but he's a New Mexico writer, and it's really interesting stuff. So we've got some work cut out for us. So we're doing well.
Oh, that's awesome. I also have, I believe, 4 novels that once I'm done the novella anthologies that I'm going to be working on. And I'll tell you guys more about them probably next week, or at least in the coming weeks. I literally just sent the notes out to those authors, letting them know that I would be their editor. And so I don't think everyone's gotten the note, because I haven't heard back from everyone, and I don't want to put it out there without them being aware that I'll be their editor. Oh, also, huge thank you to everybody who's reached out to me to check on me to make sure I'm okay. I think I'm pretty much completely over COVID. Fingers crossed. I'm almost back to my normal work week, I guess you could say, and all my normal stuff that I'm up to. So again, really huge thank you for checking on me and making sure I'm good. Caroline Davenport says, good to see all of you. Fantastic to see you too. So happy to see you. I feel like it's been ages, even though I know it's been like a week, but still. Don McIntyre asks, hey guys, do you let people know when their short story or novella does not get chosen, or only tell them when it's been accepted? We actually do send rejection letters out. And if it's something that, sometimes if it's something that we went through a lot of consideration, whether we would pick it up or not, what we'll do is we'll send an offer to kind of talk through with an offer to talk through with the author what we took into consideration and why we may have declined it, because we're always open. If we decline a piece, we're always open to seeing a revised version, right? There's no reason to not send it. So, but yes, we do. We make sure that we send out both acceptance and declines. And what you're going to find, though, is there's one period in time when we really kind of whip through all the novella and short stories that have been submitted. And it's usually right when we're pulling together what we want when pulling together the actual anthology itself. So like right now I'm finishing up the novella anthologies for Rise and Running Wild, and I'm going to be once that's done and we already have it in production, then it's usually around the beginning of the year before it'll be published. I'll actually then go through and select the novellas for the next year. So these two anthologies are going to be published in 2023. So that means the next round of reviewing novellas will probably start in the fall or winter of this year, slash the beginning of 2023. So if you don't hear anything, it just means that we haven't gotten to it. We are trying to be better. We've gotten so many amazing stories. We've gotten so many fantastic submissions. We've tried to get a lot better at actually reviewing things in a more timely fashion and getting that back to you. So yeah, I hope that blathering just really actually answered your question. So anyway, I was going to ask, so I don't know how many people who are watching us realize this, but every single one of us at Running Wild and RIZE, we all have day jobs, right? And it was a while ago, someone had asked me, like, how many hours do I think I put in at Running Wild and at RIZE? And I realized that it's about the same number of hours I put in for my actual physical day job. So I was wondering, Ben, Amy, Kelly, how do you guys balance all this amazing work that you're doing with Running Wild and RIZE with, family and day job and kids and so on? So actually, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to start with Kelly.
It is a challenge for me, just mainly because my husband is disabled and he cannot work. So therefore, I have to do all the cooking, I have to do all the cleaning, I have to do all the work. And so it's a bit of a challenge for me. I don't probably put in as many hours as a lot of people, but I do my best. What's really, really awesome about where I work, though, for those who don't know, I'm a junior high school librarian. My employer knows very well that I'm involved, and they have said that if I have downtime, I am totally welcome to work on things for the press, my own work. Yeah, they're totally cool with it. But if a student walks in, I gotta drop it. So I'm a little stop and go, probably more than other people. But thankfully, right now I'm on summer break, so I honestly I have a 2-hour commute to work every day, so I'm so used to waking up at 4:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So I'm still doing that. So from 4:00 to about 8:00, I'm actually in the living room working on my edits for my author right now. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the day I spend helping my husband, working in the garden, everything else I need to do around the house. So I put in about 4 hours a day.
Wow. Amy, what about you? How do you find that balance?
It is a challenge. So I do like a co-write pretty much every day. So it's an hour and a half of like where we log in and our cameras are off and we just work on whatever it is. So I do a lot of my editing there. And then on certain days, I'll do my own writing. It just depends on what, work is coming my way. But I try to at least have, a few hours a day where I'm focused on editing or writing something of my own. It's not always going to happen, but that's my goal every day to have that time.
That's awesome. Ben, how about you?
How do I keep it balanced? If you look at the comments, wondering if you're still interested in a story, I balance not very well. But it's coming. We're gonna make that one fit. I don't care if I hated it. We're gonna make it fit. But I don't hate it, so we'll make it fit. But it's a fun balance because I get up early, like Kelly, and I do my own writing. Then I teach at Central New Mexico Community College. I teach at the University of Maryland Global Campus. I teach at George Washington University. I teach at the Southwestern Indian Polytechnic Institute, and I do some acquisition editing for Lisa. So there's always something to do, and sometimes it's a carousel that it's the creative world. All of it's creative, from teaching to writing to editing. It's all creative, so you have to kind of for the creative mindset to come around, and so that's how I balance it. I wait for the mindset to tell me, yeah, you need to do that. That's why ducks in a row is still pending, but it's coming.
Well, thank you for owning that, and thank you for pointing out Caroline's question. So, and Cremo says, "Hey Lisa, hey everyone, hey Cree, hope you're doing awesome." Me personally, I cannot claim that I don't have a balance. When I'm at work, and it's all about work. And I get up as well at 4:30 in the morning. And the first thing in the morning, I go through a ton of the emails around the press. I'm checking up on things. I'm checking up on my own writing. So I actually have a book coming out under an alias the book's called Cure, and the alias is Callie Metis, Kalimetis. And honestly, a lot of times it just comes down to what's happening that day, right? And like tonight, I am gonna get off of when I get off of this live stream, I'm then gonna meet with a dear friend whom I absolutely love. We're gonna have a glass of wine. I'm gonna shove some food down my throat, and then I am going to go and work on the novella. Last night, I spent a good part of my evening basically handling just like a lot of administrative stuff. I call it administrative. So it's like going through contracts and making sure that everybody's covered in terms of, like editors have been matched with their authors. Oh, and by the way, if you have not heard from us in terms of having an author assigned to you and we've accepted your piece, please don't worry. Please don't be concerned. It just means that right now your work is sitting with sitting with an editor, a potential editor, and we're just waiting to see if that individual is interested in working with you or even has the time, to be honest. And then typically my weekends are spent from the minute I get up until I go to bed, primarily either writing. I had pitched a short story to a well-known publication, and they really love the query and said, please write it, send it to us. So knowing that I had that deadline, I made sure that I blocked out an entire Saturday and then another Sunday. And I just made sure that I really focused my time on that, again, because I think to both Ben's point and Amy's point, I had a deadline, right? I knew this deadline was coming. So I knew I had to kind of reshuffle everything to make sure that I got done what I needed to get done. And then from the business of Running Wild, I am just incredibly thankful that we have Joelle Mitchell, who is our head of licensing and strategy around licensing. And we have Laura Massioni, who is in charge, a director of marketing. And the three of us work together quite a lot on, how are we going to get the word out on all these fantastic stories that are coming through Running Wild. We also work a lot with Nicole, who's the head of the Alliance Agency. She's the president of the Alliance Agency, and that's the agency that represents Running Wild, RIZE, and all. And as long as our authors agree, all of our authors for actually bringing these stories forward to production companies and for translation and for audiobook. And I mean, basically anything that you can think of, right? So without these amazing individuals who are just, really fantastic and focused on different aspects of our business, we wouldn't be getting anything done. So, Caroline Shannon Davenport says, I've never met a writer who isn't always balancing. We should be in a circus. Actually, we kind of are. Yeah, pretty much. I also don't know anyone. It's funny because Ben mentioned, when you've got your creative energy back, myself and I don't know how many people know Teehee Hazlett. So Teehee had written a collection of short stories called Dark Corners. It was named one of the best of, I think it was 2019 by Kirkus Reviews. And Teehee and I used to co-host a monthly live stream, which was a storyteller's happy hour, where we basically we invited storytellers to drink because, hey, why not? While we gave them prompts, and they had to tell us a story on the fly based on that prompt. Well, we haven't done it in a while, in part because Teehee has been working on a top secret story, full-length piece for us. And he was like, I just don't, between my day job and, all my other responsibilities, I just don't have the creative energy to put towards the monthly storytellers happy hour. That said, you're going to see it come back because Teehee did an appearance for an LGBTQ live stream that was hosted by another one of our amazing authors and editors, Cody. And Cody totally called him out on it and was like, all right, when are you going to do these happy hours again? Because they were pretty fabulous. So Teehee said he would be up for it probably in like the August, September timeframe. So you guys should look for that. We're going to start doing that. Another thing that we're going to start doing, which isn't fully ironed out, I just had a conversation with Laura Massioni on this. And what we're planning on doing is new live streaming events that are focused on our authors. So really just taking the opportunity of this amazing forum and putting our authors and possibly their editors to just sit down and have a chat and talk about their books and what inspired them. And again, give you guys an opportunity to ask them whatever you want. So we'll probably start that if not over the summer, then possibly during the fall or in the fall. Again, because we haven't entirely ironed that out yet. So with that, I'm just going to remind you guys again, thank you for joining us for another Run Wild with us. Ask us anything. Again, I'm Lisa Kastner, the founder and executive editor of Running Wild Press and Rise. I'm here with Ben, Amy, and Kelly, who are some of our absolutely fantastic editors. And we are all here with you guys to answer whatever questions you may have. It could be about publishing, editing, anything that you want, right? Last week, someone asked us if we're ticklish. It could be something completely asinine. It's all good because we'll answer it. You may not like the answer, but hopefully it'll be minimally humorous. And then this is recorded as my hair goes everywhere. This is recorded. So if you're watching this and it is not Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, it's not a big deal. You just go ahead, you toss your questions into the comments section, and we go back and we check it throughout the week. So then we'll lead with responding to your question. So Don McIntyre asks another great question for each of us. So what is our favorite part of a book launch party? So this time I'll start with Amy. What do you think? What's your favorite part?
I really like the time that an audience gets with an author. I think is really cool because for an author, you get that feedback of like, oh, this is what it meant to someone else. But then as a reader, it's really cool to connect with an author, meet them, get to know them. I think sometimes we think of authors as like, untouchable. They're behind a book. They're mysterious, but it's really nice to get to know, hey, there's a person they were inspired to write this and this was kind of their process. You can ask them lots of questions. So I really like that connection between the author and the reader.
Fantastic. Kelly, what do you think?
Oh, for me, as a school librarian, I always feel like I'm behind the times because my budget doesn't always equal when things are first released. I'm always like a year behind. So for me, going to a book launch, it's like, yay, I'm finally made it. I'm finally at the front row. It's like a lot of people, I always feel like I'm a step behind, just how things go, just how the budget works. I always have to order, that year. So things that are being published the next year, I can't order until the next year, and I'm always behind. So when I go, it's always fun. And usually, the ones that I've been to, I haven't been to a ton, but they're friends. My friends, and especially when their debut, there's nothing like that. That is just, that is somebody's dream coming true, and you get to be in the front row seeing that. There's just nothing like it. And I just, to me, it's that moment. It's just to take a step back and just let them shine and just have that moment in the sun, because how much work went into getting to that spot. So that's for me. So it's almost a vicarious joy and finally being in the know before everybody else is. I'm always like a year or so behind. Have you read this? No, sorry.
Ben, how about you?
I think it's you never feel more like a writer than when you get to read your own work and have that. It goes back to Amy, connect the readers to the readers. But when you get to stand and present your own work, this book is coming out, and this is what it sounds like in my own voice. It's a good feeling. You never feel more like a writer than when you get to be a reader, and it's so that connection is there. And something also, a question also reminded me. Somebody said, I guess 2 months ago, Peter Wright, another acquisition editor for us, and a great editor. He was saying that writing the book is like 5% of the work. And eye opener to hear anybody say that and say, that's because from the writer's point of view, it's so much work to get it all done and finally finished, and the rewrites all, and the characters all make sense and not changing personalities along the way, and, unless you want them to. And then to say, well, that's done, and now we get to roll it out, and the real work begins with the launch party, and then the marketing and the sales and all that behind the scenes effort that gets to showcase the work to as many people as we can.
That's awesome. For me, I think I love attending book launch parties for both our authors, for friends. It's amazing to see that, to Amy and Ben's point, that connection between the author and their fans, the folks coming out, because the voice that you hear in your head when you're reading a book may not actually be the voice that comes forward when the author is reading their story, right? And a lot of times when someone's telling you the backstory, right, what was the impetus for different portions of the book, it just adds such a completely different layer, right? A whole new nuance to it that I personally love. I also love it when there's like an interplay between the author and the fans who were there. And what I mean by that is, like, I love it when there's like a Q&A, and, kind of like this, right? You can ask us whatever you want. And when the authors make it a safe space for their fans to ask them again whatever they want, and that the fans take them up on it, because you really get some really, really cool cool discussions going on. A lot of really fun interactions. In terms of my own book launch party, I must admit, I have never had an actual book launch party before. My first one is going to be with Cure in October at Mysterious Galaxy Bookstore in San Diego. So if you guys aren't familiar with Mysterious Galaxy, go check it out online. And actually, you sign up for it because I'll be signing books. I'll be thrilled, and I'll sign, whatever you'd like me to sign. As long as it's not, well, no, if it's incredibly absurd, I'll actually enjoy signing it even more. So yeah, we'll have a really good time together. Definitely come out, join us. Actually, I was thinking to go back a second, around, like how do you find a work-life balance? This will be kind of strange, I guess, because I actually intentionally will take up things like being asked to go to writers' conferences and asked to speak at a workshop and all that, because I use the time, that travel time on a train or an airplane or whatever, to write and to edit. And I try to make it so that it's time I'm focusing on my own writing, because otherwise my default is to work on everyone else's stuff. So it forces me to say, okay, Lisa, take a step back, and really, nail your own stuff. So, and that may sound weird, but it's also because like I'll have to, oftentimes I'll be staying at a hotel. And so again, because I'm at a hotel, I'm not home. It's not my regular environment. So it gives me an excuse to say, you know what, this is going to be all about me for when I'm actually in my hotel room, which admittedly, when I am traveling for a workshop or a conference, I'm not actually in my hotel room very much. I'm too busy taking pitches and talking to people and, teaching workshops and stuff. But hey, man, you take that time whenever you can find it. So just a reminder, if you are watching us and you've got a question, go ahead, toss it into the comments section, and I will be more than happy to repeat your question, and then we'll all take that opportunity to respond to it. So I don't know, Kelly,
Lisa, since it was Dawn asking the question, I'll answer it from the editor's point of view, because she does have a book coming out, and to see an author get to launch their book after helping them edit it, it's just a sense of pride in what they've done. And it's from my point of view, it's still their work, and anything I suggested and they accepted, that was just from a reader's point of view. And it's so it's a moment of pride for the editor, and I think for the whole publishing firm, that said, hey, we did this, the author came to us and we got that author's work out there. And so there is some professional pride there as well, to see the author get to celebrate, in this case, her work. And I hope I made you proud. Of course you did.
Well, and to Ben, so Ben, for those who are watching, and you may not know, Dawn is one of our authors. Her book, The Paper Pirate, comes out on November 8th of this year. So she is already starting out her absolutely phenomenal work on getting the word out about it. And Ben was the editor for Cure. So if you could somehow make it to San Diego for that book launch, we would have so much fun together. But I agree with Ben. Like I've actually gone to more book launch parties for people that either I edited or that we published. And it is just so absolutely fantastic. It's so amazing to see them like really in their, in what feels like home, right? Like this is where they've been meant to be, to not only bring their stories to life, but to see these individuals, I mean, really in their element and really just thriving. It's like there are no words for that kind of pride. It's so fantastic. And we did at one point have I think it was at Book Soup here in LA, and we had a panel of a bunch of our authors who had been published in some of our anthologies. And it was just, again, it was just great to see that dynamic, everyone interacting and, you know, just like talking, and just, again, the sheer pride that came with them knowing that, you know, they did this and people are loving it. Right. So just really fantastic. Caroline Sharon Davenport asks, are you still looking for novels for 2024 and 2025? That's a great question. So thank goodness I just finished this. For Running Wild, we are pretty much done for 2024. And we already have some for 2025. And then, but we're not done for 2025. For RIZE, we're done for 2023, and we're still acquiring for 2024. So RIZE is our publishing company that we're publishing genre stories written by those in underrepresented groups. And then Running Wild is where we're publishing cross genre, basically. So Celerino Cordova says, okay, see you, I'm learning English. No problem. I seem to be learning English today as well. So I think we're all in the same boat right now. I don't know. Do you you guys have any other topics? I know last time actually we were talking about what it's like what's our position? What do we feel about censorship? And I know Kelly, Amy, and I just agreed violently with everything they said, but I don't know, Ben, if you had any thoughts on censorship.
Visual aid there, but I think there's got to be the freedom to say the things your book needs to say in such a way that it's going to be burned and banned right as soon as it's published. But I'm thinking about the book I mentioned earlier, Tim Shoemaker's book. I won't even say what the title is because it's got that word in it.
Oh, we're using
no F's given. That's right. And but it's fictionalized. It's a fictionalized memoir kind of his experience in Iraq when after 9/11, and rings very true. And to make it ring true, there has to be some language that the Army uses, and the Army uses that language very well. I wrote a book called The Kill Gene, and I didn't use any profanity in it but I made points to where if the character was going to say something profane, this was the place. But it's kind of a tongue in cheek. I started that book off with the Army taught me how to cuss. They gave me every reason to cuss, and then I got discharged and I didn't have to cuss. I haven't cussed since. And then I asked civilians not to cuss because it sounds funny. If they haven't been in, they really don't know how to cuss in the first place, so please don't. And so the language itself is if it fits the situation and that's what the characters would have said, then and along with the censorship of having a political view. Again, this book is a great example of a political view. Once you see that you have been deployed for questionable reasons and it starts to sink in from that point of view, you have to say that. You can't just go along with the ruse and get everybody to follow you, because it does not ring true. So if it rings true, then use that language, use that viewpoint, and let your characters take the heat. When the book is banned, the characters take the heat. But,
can I?
So that's my perspective on it.
I'm going to piggyback on what you're saying, Ben. It drives me crazy how much young adult war novels are banned for violence.
Okay.
I'm sorry, every war I've participated in, we threw kittens at each other. I mean, what do you expect? It just blows my mind every time. No pun intended. Just, when I put out the banned book display, they're like, why was this one banned? I'm like, well, because it's about the Vietnam War and it's too violent. What? It just yes. I wanted to just mention that.
And Don McIntyre
it's a great point.
It is a great point. Don McIntyre says censorship of ideas is much worse than censorship of curse words. I agree. It's funny. Well, the last time we were talking, I think Kelly, you brought up the fact that, really the expectation is, because you are a librarian, right? And, your audience is kids, and, your expectation is that, parents, you should actually read the books that if you're that concerned, right, then you should actually read the books before your kids read them, right? And I'm a mentor for Horror Writers Association and a few other places. And I was talking to one of my mentees the other day, and he mentioned that when his kids were younger, he did exactly that. Every book that they showed interest in, he was sure to read before they picked it up, to make sure that he knew what was in it. And if there was something that was questionable, right, he could speak to it. And if there was something that he didn't really want them to be exposed to, then, he could say, what, you're not quite there yet. And I admit I don't have children. But I know that when I was a kid, for some reason, like, my mother was fine with me reading, like crazy violent books that are literary books, but I wasn't allowed to read comic books unless I was within the age range for that, how the comics have on it, like for 14 years and under and all that. They are the most boring comic books on the friggin' planet. I was so like, I would go to my corner store, I'd go to my corner market, and my mom would like literally stand over me and watch me as I had to pick up. It was like, I think the only stuff they had was like Scooby-Doo and I don't know, but and they're not full stories back in the day, right? Because we're talking about more than 40 years ago. And, they were not complete stories. So you get like a third or a quarter of a story in this comic book. And with the intention it was supposed to be that this would then make you want to pick up the next one. I just was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. If you want a better way to get kids to then go for the like more violent and like horrific stuff, then feed them that crap, right? Oh, Archie. It was Scooby-Doo and Archie were the two comics that my corner market had. And again, like this, they weren't complete stories, and they were just so like, not even dad humor. I mean, it was just like the cheesiest stuff on the planet. Not to say to, fully trust your kids, because I do think you should, even though I don't have children, so I don't know anything. But everybody I've known whose parents said, you know what, if you're interested in it, pick it up and read it. And if there's a part to it that you've got questions about, let's talk about it. They are some of the most intelligent, well-read, because there were no barriers put in front of them, right? And it kept them curious. It made them want to keep reading, because no one said to them, you're not allowed to do this, or you're not allowed to do that, right? And if you do want to do something and it's questionable, again, let's talk about it so that we're having a real dialogue around it. Caroline Shannon Davenport says, all right, I've got another one. Ben, a novel for 2025, a young singer with a golden voice who wants to be a female Elvis back in the day when females weren't. Do we want to take a look? All right. So Caroline, what I'm going to suggest is go in, put that in for submittable, because we are going to be going through, we actually have on the calendar a review of all the books that are currently submitted for both Rise and Running Wild. And that review is going to happen in the beginning of August. So if you've got something, send it to us through submittable, and it'll go through our standard process. Anybody who's submitted anything to us before that, it'll probably be like end of July. That means you're going to hear from us on that piece by like mid to end of August. Cool.
I had a thing that I wanted to add for kind of Dawn's point about censorship. So I know last time we were talking about specifically like young adult censorship and how this is like a huge thing. So I was on a call with Jason Reynolds, and he's like one of the biggest banned book authors, super dangerous, right? But he's absolutely amazing, and he just wants kids to read, and he wants their voices to be heard. It's so refreshing to hear him talk. And he was saying during this call that he really looks for story first. So that's what he tries to instill in kids and, rising authors, and then in his friends around him. And he said he does this thing where he's researched when you build bridges, right? There is a certain frequency that they have to pay attention to, so that if it vibrates at that frequency, like the whole bridge can come down. So that's called resonant frequency. And so all of the bridges of the buildings, they all have this resonant frequency. And he likes to bring up, especially to young people, that books, stories also have a resonant frequency, and that all the really good ones, they have this chord, this sound that they make within us that really is affecting, that really touches us. And so that's what he does with all of his stories. And I think that's why they're banned, is because they're honest and they are so human. But he says that for all of the rising authors he works with, he just says, what is the resonant frequency? Because if you have it in your story, we're made of the same stuff. So if it affects you, I want it to affect me. And I just thought that was so inspiring and honest. And if we can all kind of take that and be as confident as he is in our own resonant frequency, it would take us so far.
Oh, I love that. That's fabulous.
And there was after World War II, some of the soldiers came back, and I think it was Mailer maybe that got censored by using the F word, and they made him spell it F-U-G. And so it was always F-U-G, and he hated it because it was absolutely just being censored. And now, to his point, if you 40 or 80, we read one of his books, and you wonder, what's he talking about? What's wrong with that word? And it's just to strain the artistic honesty again with Amy's honesty. It's a matter of use the language that's used, and sometimes it's going to shock the future generations. We don't use that language anymore, or we use that language even more now. In case, and of course it still comes down to ideas of being honest, and I think the censorship of honesty starts with the censorship of language.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I think really we all read, we all experience stories because we want to feel, right? Whether it's We want to go through an emotional roller coaster that we wouldn't get to go through in our daily lives. It takes us out of our day-to-day, whether it's we want to laugh, whether it's we want to enjoy being in the head of somebody who like live vicariously, right? Whatever it is. And if you do things within your storytelling that make it feel fake, right? That changes that that honesty, that resonance, then you've missed the point. And so much of that really does come down to, it's the language, and again, actually, I think Ben makes a great point. By censoring the language, you actually then do end up censoring and changing the ideas within that story, and the themes, and the emotional resonance of that story. And that's not why we're here, right? We're not here to tell stories that people go, oh, this is a crock of shit. And yes, I did just curse. And yes, we are on a live stream. And if you knew me in person, I'm much worse than that. I'm kind of horrible. So anyway, so Caroline says, you can't stay true to a character as a writer if you write worried about what might be censored. That's not the truth of how we live. Agreed, right? You've got to allow the character to be who the character is going to be on that page. Allow them to evolve. Allow them to be whoever they're going to be. Otherwise, the story won't ring true. So.
It kind of brings me back. My son likes to play videos for me where this guy reads up submissions by kids that send in of words that are banned in their class. And it's silliest things like, we're not allowed to say Minecraft anymore. We're not allowed. Oh, sorry, that's Mevin. We're not allowed to say buddy anymore, or something like that. There's like they have these really weird reasons why certain words are banned in their school or in their class, and they have to find ways around it. And it's ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely ridiculous.
If you ever want to check those out on YouTube, it's actually funny just to sit and listen to. Like, again, I work in a school, and I'm like, we would never even bother.
Think to do that. Yeah. We have 7 minutes left. So if you're watching, this is another Run Wild with us. Ask us anything. You're here with myself and some of our fantastic editors from Running Wild Press and RIZE Press. And we're here to answer whatever questions you may have. Just go ahead, toss them in the comments section. If you are watching this and it is not between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time on a Thursday, or 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time on a Thursday, it's not a big deal. Just go ahead, toss your questions into the comments section, and we will respond to them in the subsequent week. Now, one thing that you guys may not realize is that I actually invite all of our editors. If you go to our website, you'll see who all of our editors are to this. So people join based on their availability. So you never know who might be joining other than me on any given week. So definitely take the opportunity to, chat with, all new people, depending on who's here that time. So, any like closing thoughts, guys, that you may have? It could be about anything. Ben, what do you think?
Just to follow up on your last point there, Lisa, the personalities of the editors are so wide that there's so many different perspectives that you can hear. So jump right in and join and ask questions. And even the diversity of answers that you'll get, depending on who you ask, you could ask the same question every week and maybe get a different answer depending on who's here. And that's good. That's by design. I think Lisa set it up to get as many different perspectives on staff as possible. So
absolutely.
We're here Thursdays.
We even
I'm even on time sometimes.
Yeah, this time he was actually like 2 minutes early. We even have a couple of agents who are on staff with us as well. So they edit with us part-time, and then they're agents as well. So so that way you'll get some really, really interesting perspectives. Kelly, what do you think? Any final thoughts?
No, I find it really fun to come on here and listen to other editors and listen to honestly what Rising Press is all about, because I can read about it on your website and I can learn about it, but hearing it from you and hearing it from the people that I work with is really, really cool. It's really fun, and I'm still very much a baby when it comes to this. I'm very new and I'm learning as fast as I can on the job, but it is really, really wonderful to be such a part of such a wonderful thing. And I love that you do this, because other agencies, as far as I know, other public, they don't do things like this. Mm-hmm. It's not as accessible. It feels like there is that ceiling. I'm sorry, my dog just brought me that. But yeah, so that's I love that. I love that it's accessible, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
And I'm thrilled to have all of you guys here. And I give actually credit to this, for us doing this to Jonathan Mayberry, because at the very beginning of the pandemic, he knew that we were doing the Storytellers Happy Hours. And he said, well, why don't you do something like, just to ask me anything. And I said, yeah, sure. And at first it was just me. And we went in the beginning of the pandemic, Facebook's rules, I think, about like, when you promote stuff, were different, because we had something insane, like I think it was like 80,000 hits. And I was shocked, because, we're a small press, but I'm just thrilled that people are finding this valuable. And we actually now are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So if you are in any of those forums, I really hope you have an opportunity to check us out. And because it's running live all at the same time every week. So, and again, it's saved. It's saved definitely on Twitter and on Facebook. I need to check and see if it's actually, and YouTube. I need to check and see if it's saving on LinkedIn as well. Amy, what about you? Any final thoughts or ideas?
I would just encourage everyone, like with our conversation today, I think the bottom line is like, you have to stay true to the story, to the character, to your voice. I think so often we get distracted with things that we're trying to make the story do instead of listening. I'm guilty of that as well. So I'd just like to encourage everyone to keep writing, stay true. And if you're on any of these platforms, you can promote us, retweet us, repost us, whatever you would like to do. And these are all so fun to get to see other editors. We usually don't meet face to face, so this is always a good time.
Awesome. And yeah, again, to Amy's point, guys, feel free, retweet, forward this along, let your friends know. The more people we have watching these, and not just watching these, but interacting with us, the better, because it's always a blast, right? We just simply love talking to you guys. So I think with that, I'm going to thank Ben, Kelly, Amy. As always, you guys are absolutely fantastic. Thank you so, so much for joining us again this week. For you guys, if you're watching, we will be here again next week, Thursday, same time, same channels. Definitely, definitely join us. We absolutely love, love, love having you here with us. And if you can't make it, again, come up with some kind of fancy schmancy questions or comments, pop them in the comments sections, and we will be more than happy to talk about it. And actually, it could even be current events, like what are our positions, what are our thoughts on various current events, and we'll talk about it. So, all right. With that, thanks, guys, and we will see you next week. Ciao.